figured I'd bring y'all along for the ride. Used to do these IG lives with making capsules. So today I have to make 3 different blends. One is for UTIs, one is for, hey Gladys, I'm also on YouTube. It's a little bit easier for me to answer questions if you want to hop in to the YouTube stream. Making 3 blends today. UTIs, see, I don't have my list. Some Vitex capsules for hormonal support, and then some cramp art capsules. So I figured I would bring you all along for the ride in making these capsules and talk about the blends, how they benefit UTIs if you have any questions, or how they benefit what I'm making them for. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Let me know where y'all are chiming in from. And I'm gonna start making these capsules. So the first set of capsules that I need to make are for UTIs, and it's a 3 herb blend. So we have uva ursi, we have corn silk, and we have some juniper berries. So my typical UTEs blend actually has a couple of additional herbs in it, but this client has multiple chemical sensitivities, and she has lots of different allergies, like a hypersensitive immune system, and so she knows some of the herbs that she doesn't respond well to. So I had to modify the blend for her. And overall for UTI blend, what do you all think you need? How many herbalists we have in the chat, or how many aspiring herbalists do we have in the chat? If you think about the symptoms of the condition and where it's showing up, and what people are feeling, that helps you develop a strategy for what your formula is going to be. So we know we need to address the infection. It's like a little bit hard to multitask and talk. We know we need to address the infection with antimicrobial herbs. We know that the infection creates inflammation and burning. And so we know we need to have some anti-inflammatory support. And then sometimes people experience a lot of pain, sometimes spasmodic pain with their UTIs, and that's when an herb, in addition, like valerian root, is a good addition because it's antispasmodic. But this person has their valerian root separate. She didn't want it in the blend, so that she could modify the dose of the valerian. So our capsule machine makes 100 capsules, and I typically do 400 milligrams of an entire blend. So whether it's a single herb, it'll be 400 milligrams, or if it's a blend of 2-3 herbs, the total will be 400 milligrams. So I'm just weighing everything out that I need. And with UTIs, I had another client use this blend, and it really helped with the biofilms. I know folks know what biofilms are, but bacteria are super smart. So they have the ability to kind of I always think of it like a little bacterial city, 15 grams. They kind of create their own little cities to help with nutrient support to them. But they're called biofilms. You know what is a better way to describe it? You actually know what biofilms are if you don't brush your teeth for a day or two, and you start to feel that slipperiness. That's the bacteria creating biofilm. So biofilm busters are really important inclusion in any kind of infection formula, because bacteria are super smart, and they're going to do everything that they need to do in order to survive. And biofilms are one of their mechanisms for doing that. This is the corn silk. So the herbs, in addition to being antimicrobial, which is going to help reduce the infection, the herbs need to be able to disrupt the bacteria from biofilm formation, and herbs are really good at that. Herbs actually do a better job at disrupting biofilm formation and breaking them down, kind of like disintegrating them and preventing the bacteria from making more. They do a better job at that than antibiotics. So working on this first blend, and I actually forgot that she needed 2 packages, so I need to double it, but I've already not done that. So I have all the herbs. Let me know in the chat where y'all chiming in from. How's the day going? What are y'all doing today? That might have been loud. Apologies if it was loud. I need to grind this down. Hold on, one more. Do another round. I'm getting there. Smells good. The juniper smells really good. I'm gonna do a little more. With chamomile B. Hey, from DC. Alright. I think I have a nice powder. Yeah, it's nice and uniform. Would chamomile be good for UTIs? Chamomile is really good. It does have a lot of antimicrobial benefits because of the volatile oils, but I think about like the herbs that have, and it's antispasmodic, so it'd be a good inclusion, but it's kind of a specific for the digestive system and for the nervous system, so it would be a good supportive herb. But I would think about more strongly acting. I wouldn't just do it by itself necessarily to address the UTI. And you really have to be careful, right, with UTIs because, since you know the whole bunch of parts, because bacteria, they replicate really quickly. Like, it's mind-blowing. And so if you're not consistent, or if it's too far gone, then antibiotics are going to be your choice, because people can get sepsis with UTIs that are prolonged. And I once had a client who had a severe UTI, and it just took his physician a really long time to get back to him, and he was elderly. That really is putting that person in a compromising situation. So while he came into the space, like, I made the infusion immediately for him so that he could start drinking it, and drinking at least 3 cups a day. But once you have an infection, the dosage sometimes changes depending on the plants. But we didn't need to wait anymore, because he had a bunch of other issues going on, and he had this severe UTI that had been prolonged for a while. Like, think about when you go to the doctor, you get blood work, and you do all your checkup, or you go for a sickness visit versus a well visit. Like, people, that's already late detection when something is seen. Like, it's already showing up. So he'd had this UTI for a while, and that's not good. My mentor, who's a physician, she was like, people die from UTIs, especially the elderly. So you have to be careful, and you have to be very consistent. Did I do this right? Hold on. Yeah. Something's up. Always. something's up with the machine. When I go, like Tammy said, not always. When I go live, the machine doesn't cooperate. It's not tightening. And with it not tightening, I can't get the capsule tops to separate from the bottoms. That's funny that this happens. You can't fix it, boo. She's looking over. All right, but this is what happens in real life. Let me think this through. That's how it always works, right? I remember doing another live and the blender broke. It's like, are you serious? Like now? We've been kicking it and now you break? So I have to make sure that the plates are aligned so that when they shift in the machine, it actually tightens. We're missing one. Okay. But yeah, what are y'all doing today? And how's it going? Oh, that's why. It wasn't put back right. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't put back right. Hold up. Yeah, so this little piece has to fit in here in order for the plates to tighten. There we go. Now we should be back in business. Getting ready for a 21-day fast. Say more. Okay. We should be ready to go. All right. Nope. We're getting there. Where's everyone in their herbal practice? Are we new to the journey? Are we seasoned herbalists? Are we business owners? Are we trying to heal? Oh, there we go. See? So only the tops are left in here and the bottoms are there. That's what we want. So to recap, UTI blend, basically the major actions we need are antimicrobial to fight the infection, anti-inflammatory, which you're gonna get with antimicrobial to reduce the inflammation. Sometimes people need anodyne, pain relieving for the spasming and the cramps, and a little bit of mucilage. That's why we have some corn silk that's in the blend that helps to reduce the inflammation, but it helps to like soothe the urinary tissues. And then yeah, those are the primary actions. So you can do this with a number of plants, but my 3 for this particular blend, which is a custom blend for clients: uva ursi, corn silk, and juniper berry. Sometimes I add calendula. Chamomile could be an option if you wanted that, but more is not always better. Sometimes people add nettle, also a great addition. This person couldn't do nettle. So you do have lots of options. And then super important to be very consistent. Gotta finish the bag. And this person is kind of like recovering from chronic UTIs. And when there is chronicity with UTIs, that is always, always, always because they have formed, the bacteria have formed biofilms along the urinary tract. Could be in the kidneys, could be in the ureters, the urethra, So it's really important to have antimicrobials that are effective at disrupting biofilms, and hydration is really important. Sometimes people's UTIs go from being an acute issue to a chronic issue because of the biofilm formation, but also because they don't drink enough fluids. And that fluids help to literally like wash the tissues of the urinary system. So think about like giving those organs a bath or giving them a shower, and that hydration helps prevent the bacteria from attaching to the tissues, which is then giving them a greater opportunity to create biofilms and like protect themselves and get the nutrients they need. So just like sometimes those simple foundational practices that we forget, or maybe take for granted, are aiding us the most in preventing issues from getting worse. There were some comments in the chat, and they're now gone. Where y'all chiming in from? Let me get these in here, and then I'll scroll up. And then I really like doing lives, but I don't always know what to do lives for. Tammy and I were doing lives for a while on YouTube and on Instagram, talking about like behind the scenes of business and operations. We kind of feel like that was a pretty robust and complete series. So if there's anything that you all are wanting to learn more about, hear more of, let us know. We're dropping another YouTube video tomorrow. We are dropping another one tomorrow, and then we have the other one scheduled. Trying to get back into a weekly cadence on YouTube to do some deeper dives into topics. So don't be shy. Let us know. Like sometimes I feel like we're just pulling topics out of our butt when you have questions. Maybe you don't know the questions that you have. All right. Boom. And I need to move everything over here. Skincare with herbs. Ooh, I might be the wrong one because my skincare routine is so simple, and that's intentional. We used to have a body care line, and we just did more skincare products, but retired that a while ago. And since then, it's gotten really, it's just simplified. I will make an herbal oil of basically anything that I need to or just feel like playing with that month. I'll make an infused herbal oil with different plants, usually in my Levo machine because it's easy and I can set it and forget it, and it keeps the temperature stable. And then that oil becomes the multi-purpose oil from head to toe. So for body, face, for hair, just kind of like distribute it into different bottles. So I have a little squeezy bottle for the hair, just in a jar for body and for face, and that's it. Keep it super simple. We really address skin health from the inside out. So there are two that we're missing, but that's the easy fix. And then it's helpful. I have a couple of, I actually do have a couple of YouTube videos on skin already. One is it's really our first aid oil, but that is our multi-purpose oil. That helps with eczema, helps with other skin issues. And then we also have our topical steroid withdrawal video, which is not common, but the people who experience topical steroid withdrawal are really struggling because they don't have a lot of support. And that's basically like for the folks, you know, maybe you've had eczema, got diagnosed with eczema as a kid, and you've basically been slathering on steroid creams for a really long time, and the stronger they get, the higher risk you have of potentially developing topical steroid withdrawal. And that basically means that if you suddenly go off of those creams, the skin kind of rebounds and the reaction is extremely, extremely painful. So I would check out that video for skin health too. Niles wants to get up in the video and say, hey. Some crawling behind me. So I finished this first 100 of UTI capsules. I actually need to do another, because she ordered 2 bags. So same blend, and then I'll move on to hormones and cramps. And come on, Niles. He's trying to hide. Yes, I need to make the same one again. I didn't double my measurements, and sometimes I make more mistakes when I double it, so it's good that I didn't. What else do people say? Perimenopause. We'll talk about that when we talk about the hormones. Yeah, how old are you all? I'm 43. Tammy is 40. Tammy, how old are you? She'll be 47. Tammy, can I tell your business?
Sure. Things that never stopped you.
Tammy is turning 47?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. No, stop. Don't play with my tech, boy. Tammy is turning 47 and is officially, right?
I think so, yeah.
Post. There's a motorcyclist going by. That could get on the herbs, Bubba. Tammy is officially, what was it, post-menopausal? She, right?
I don't know. Isn't it peri?
No, you're not peri anymore. You have gone 12 months without a period.
Oh.
So is that in menopause? Is it post-menopausal? Like, I don't know. Like at what point? Excuse me. Oh, my earphone.
I guess it's not peri anymore, right?
Yeah, I'm like, she's not peri anymore. She's postmenopausal, 47. But then I was speaking to somebody else who was like 52 and still no signs of perimenopause. And I'm like, I'm 43. I'm ready. I'm ready to not have a period anymore. So like, let's go. I'm like, I can't do another 10 years. Yeah, it's post after, someone in the chat, Miss Moore. It's post after 12 months. After the 12th month, you are postmenopausal at 46. She'll be 47 in December. That's what I'm talking about. Like, let's do it. Let's be done. I forgot what I was looking for. Oh. Alright. Uh-oh. I'm making a mess. Cousin is 54. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, and going through it. Oh my gosh. Oh, no. I need to talk to my mother. I don't know how long. I do remember growing up and like her having hot flashes and stuff. But I don't know how long she went through perimenopause before she was done. I'm curious. Yeah, because my sister, I have an older sister. We're 5 years apart, so she's 48, right? She's 48.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's 48 and not experiencing any perimenopausal signs and symptoms either. It's like, oh, okay. I don't want to keep, you know, we can be done. 60. There was someone who said she still gets hip. We can't. We can't do that. And then like my mind went to there's, and that's what's funny. It's kind of like with birth control too. Like there's no herbs that are going to bring perimenopause on. You know, like so. 60. I can't even imagine. It ain't no way. Still bleeding. That ain't right. Yes. Hey, Roxanne. We did. We closed our public apothecary and could not be happier. Let me do the grinder. Did not do much to the juniper yet. You have to come get Prosper.
Hey.
You know, he can't be trusted. Yep. The dog. Tammy's talking to the dog. He's looking at her like, what? Thinking it's optional. They're having a stare down. Yes, so we closed our public apothecary. That was a whirlwind of decisions, and we like once we decided, we were out in 3 weeks. So that was like all of May. So it seems sudden for some, but we've actually been thinking about it a while. We did it for 4.5 years, and it wasn't really designed to be like a retail endeavor. Oh, we needed a space because we were making syrups. There we go. We were making syrups, and we needed a commercial kitchen, so we moved into a space, which was great. But in terms of like wanting to do retail full time, we never wanted to do. It was so much to the point that it's just like when people would come in, we'd be like, "What are you doing here?" And it's like, "Oh, right, we're open," you know. But it was really like our headquarters, our office, and we needed the commercial kitchen. And so the biggest lesson out of that is basically like you can't half do anything in business. It's like go all in and be zeroed in on your strengths and your zone of genius and the things that the way in which you want to expand and grow. And I'm an educator. I want to teach, I want to speak, I want to write books, and I like to formulate, but I don't want to be a manufacturer. I knew that a long time ago. And the way that I work, I listen to, or it's like, yeah, I kind of work in what I realized in the years. It's like I work the way, in herbalism, I work the same way I worked in the arts, where it's practice, 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 study, 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 practice, 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 study, study, study. Then there's an event that is the show, right? And so the space made the show kind of like all the time and not planned and sporadic. You know what I mean? Like it was sporadic because you don't know when someone's going to come in. And so it's not a show as in like putting on a performance, but it's that like there's something about the integration of like studying, practicing, the discipline, being in the zone without an audience, and then going out, having the audience, answering the questions, doing the teaching. Like the teaching is the synthesis of what I've been doing in my private space. So I realized like that was some of the tension that I felt with having open hours, and then just the way that our life is constructed. It's we don't like it. Like, we just didn't like it. And so it was that coming to the honesty of like, we don't like this and we should stop. And I even had I have a business strategist to talk. I can only handle talking to him once a year because it's just too much. And it's only like 45 minutes. It's like too much, David, I can't. And he even said it in January. He was like, Selima, if you're not going to do it 100%, then what the F are you doing? Like, stop. And it's just like, okay. But it still took us to May to be like, okay. And we're done and we're out. And it was so smooth. And that's how you know it was the right time, because like everything just fell in line. Like once we said we're done, we just all of the energy supported us in being complete and closing that chapter. And as you can see, you still have an apothecary. It's just back at home. And so with closing the space, that also meant we closed our, it's still up, but like closing our e-commerce to focus on writing, speaking, and teaching. The growth areas, the ways in which I want to expand, and kind of like some of the ways in which we started a little bit. Our backstory is full of pivots. And I think if you follow a business or if you're in business long enough, that is what businesses do. Is that when something's not working, you pivot. Yeah, no added stress and no like no divided attention. That was really kind of a key thing too. It's like no divided attention. And that feels really good. So there things, and we sold out like most of the products. There are a couple of things that are still on our website. And what does remain, so this goes back to the question that was asked. If there's something on our website and it's still up and you can order it, that doesn't mean we still have it in stock. It'll probably be like closer to September when we fully like, and there's no more herbs to buy on our website. Like we fully do that, because that's a bigger kind of like tech project to design the new website that we want, and close this one down. But so if something is there and in stock, yes, there's definitely no syrups. Those went like that. And then what remains is herbs for private clients. So you are a private client, so yes, you still get to order. The process will change in that you'll just have to send me an email, which is most of the private client medicine, some of it tends to be custom anyway, like now. So you would have to send me an email anyway. So that is what remains. And oh yeah, we were gonna do a YouTube live about the whole story and all the lessons that we learned and all that stuff, but then we ended up just talking about it deeply inside of our Herbal Medicine for the Soul program. And that just felt like complete in terms of the processing. So maybe we'll put that recording up so people can see what just kind of like all of the things that we learned. Very valuable, very happy, no regrets. And a big takeaway too was like, I'm a big person, like I can't live with what ifs, or I prefer not to live with what ifs. Like, what if I had tried? What if I had done this? What if? Absolutely not. We are here for 80 years. I'm trying it all in my short 80 years. And I would rather try and have an answer. I don't think that there's any failure. But I would rather try and have an answer so that I don't have to live with, well, what if? And so the space really became a beautiful canvas for that, where it's like, okay, let's try doing monthly in-person workshops. Child, that lasted 3 months before my battery was like, no. I cannot sustain this in-person schedule in addition to all of the other teaching that I do. So that's not just all you do is this once a month. Like, no, I teach at Spelman, I teach for Herbal Academy, I teach for us, like Herbal Medicine for the Soul, Family Pharmacy, the other program that we have, had live workshops for a while. We're moving to a Q&A, kind of quarterly Q&A structure. in addition to being open and available, and like, you know, there's something about the onness, and I don't mean that from like a pretending, but like when someone comes in and it's very, people treat it like a clinic, as they should. You go in, you want to talk to someone, and you want to know about your health issue. So there's like a click in the brain that's like, you're here, gotta think quickly to answer your questions, provide you with the herbs or the recommendation, where to get them. So that's that kind of like, oh, I'm clicking into, I've been practicing, synthesizing in my work, studying, putting things together to then say, here's a complete synthesis of what I think about UTIs. So like, you're right here, UTIs, next person, ulcerative colitis, next person, cancer, next person, you know, next person, unknown diagnosis, but all of these symptoms. So that it's just a different way to operate, and some people like love that, and I love that for them. But I really realized like I like the spaciousness of being able to think and craft a very like thoughtful and thorough and like synthesized response, which takes time. So that's why like even lives kind of throw me off, because I'm thinking at the top of I'm thinking while also doing and wanting to provide, you know, information that's accurate and trustworthy and all of that good stuff. So, but some people love that, and it does. I will say this, y'all. There's no herbs. I'm closing the thing. There's no herbs in here. I'm closing the capsules. See? Talking and trying to do stuff and trying to multitask at the same time. All right. Didn't have this. Okay. Try again. So that's a long way of answering a bunch of questions that came in. Oh, wait. I saw a YouTube question come in. I don't know how to retrieve it. What the? Huh. No, that didn't do it. Unrelated question. What do you recommend for a mom who's 6 weeks pregnant and struggling with nausea? Ginger makes it worse, it seems. Ooh, pregnancy. Yeah. And the ginger's not working. Pregnancy's tough. The thing that worked for me, see, we went from, hey, we went from clinic. The thing that worked for me, and I'm really cautious with pregnancy, if ginger's not working, eating frequently. So much so, Tammy's such an amazing partner, I literally had to keep my stomach, something had to be in my stomach at all times during the first trimester. And for as cleanly as we eat and as cleanly as we ate back then, it was like not the clean stuff that was doing the job. It was like, we lived in Brooklyn, it was like go to the bodega and get me a plain white bagel. And just having, it was cracker, bagel, like something carb. And that helped tremendously, so much to the point where she would make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and put it by the nightstand so that when I rolled over in the middle of the night, hungry and nauseous, I could take a bite, and that is what ultimately settled it. But yeah, I had to keep something in my stomach pretty much around the clock. Just a little bit, not like full meals, but just a little bit if the ginger's not helping. And it's like small amounts. That's a full class. I need to just do, we have a pregnancy, postpartum, and fertility series inside of Herbal Medicine for the Soul. But that deserves a whole class on what herbs are safe and at what stage in a pregnancy and why. And it's really nuanced because of dosage. It's really, really nuanced. Because even like high amounts of ginger and high is not qualified, right? Like, can be contraindicated during pregnancy. So that is the recommendation that I will offer in the essence of the highest level of precaution. Yeah. Keep the belly, just have food. Eat. And it does not have to be a lot. I would take a bite of that crappy bagel and it would settle. Take a bite, roll over, take a bite of that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it would settle. For as much as I consume herbs daily, like before and after, it was actually very interesting that during pregnancy, I could not keep down my infusions. So that's probably the longest stretch of time that I barely had any herbs, but I had an herbal practice before and after. But it was just not much agreed with me during that time. So, yeah. But congratulations to your friend. Hey, friend. What else? I see you, Amy. Amy, how are the markets going? So Amy's in herbal medicine for the soul. Started her herbal business. I see you out there at the markets. So proud. All right, so this is the last bag. Here we go. Of the UTI capsules, uber earthseed, corn silk, juniper berry. Boom. I didn't move all my stuff. So we're busting biofilms, reducing inflammation, fighting the infection with antimicrobial, specific herbs that are like have an affinity, or really, what that means, kind of herbal word that doesn't help people, but they herbs that have an affinity for the urinary tissues. That's what these herbs are. That's why it works. When it comes to UTIs, dosage is very important, and stage of it, how long it's been going on. Sometimes people do have to combine. Sometimes folks catch it too late. It's one of those kind of infections that can't get away from you quickly. You don't want to play. So if you're not feeling better, reduced pain consistently, after you've been consistently taking herbs, then you're going to have to seek a high level of care, and that is the most conservative thing to do, because you don't want it to get worse. You really don't. And hydration is super important. Who's here? Hydration is important. Why? Quiz time. Why is hydration important? Because hydration washes. Think of like giving the urinary organs a shower. It washes the urinary organs so that the bacteria don't attach to those tissues and then start multiplying there and developing biofilms. Really important. Anything to flush. Yeah. Yep. Lots and lots of water. And most of these herbs anyway will stimulate, and that part too, like they'll stimulate diuresis. So they're going to stimulate urine flow. You don't want to get dehydrated. You want to be replenishing your fluids too. Yeah, I'm going to bag these so that I can use that bowl again. So up next, I'm going to make the Vitex capsules. Does anyone have anything they want to share? What were the other content requests? Perimenopause, skin. You just skin within. That's the biggest thing. I am. There it is. Ooh. I'm trying to remember. That's a whole protocol. And I'm trying to remember the acronym. Was it mast cell activation syndrome? Is that what it is? Remind me. It's related to histamine intolerance. Yeah. I'm making sure I get the right label. We did not do that inside of herbal medicine for the soul, but we did talk about that briefly when we talked about histamine intolerance. Again, kind of like related to hyperactive immune system. I like to reserve, that's complex, like that's multi-systemic. So there's no easy recommendations. But I assume you're already consuming, or whomever it's for, consuming a low histamine diet. This one's messed up. Since mast cells, they release different chemicals, but histamine is a predominant one. Yeah. And then, is there any sensitivity to mold? If there's not, I would look into macro dosing, and you would work your way up. Macro dosing reishi to help regulate the immune system response. But a helpful tip, it's helpful because it puts it in perspective. Chronic, multi-systemic issues. And we always go into the emotional connection inside of herbal medicine for the soul because nothing is just strictly physical. But, I think it offers some perspective. Like, usually takes longer than we want it to. It took longer to develop. It takes longer to resolve. And that longer is there's no timeline to it. But I think sometimes people feel really discouraged when there's chronic concerns and incremental improvement. But I even had to remind a client today that it's really important to pay attention to the subtle forms of progress and improvement that you're experiencing, even though, yes, you want it to be done with, but yeah, I can support you through a consultation, especially if you're having multiple chemical sensitivities too. And that can be tough if there's mushroom kind of like sensitivity as well. And it's also worth checking for everyone. Check to make sure you are not being exposed to mold in your house. It's just becoming such a big problem for a lot of people that it's worth getting your home tested for mold. But yeah, the diet gets really specific, but also the reduction of kind of the toxins that we're exposed to in body care, cleaning products as well, and like food packaging products, that becomes a part of the strategy too. But there's a consultation link on my website if you're interested. iwillremedy.com. All right, we ran out of big bags, so I divided them into 4. But she will know. Yeah. I hope that the person in the chat said, absolutely, I will book one soon, and I actually have a huge mold issue. I had a leak in my roof. I'm so sorry to hear that. That becomes, as much as you can, that becomes the higher priority because it dysregulates the immune system so much, and there's constant exposure that these immune cells are perpetually releasing their chemicals, so it's hard to quiet. I don't have, if you send me a DM and mention that it's you, there's a filter that I can recommend, because I know mold remediation can be expensive and time consuming, and sometimes just takes a while, and people can't just like pack up and move or like immediately sell their home or even get landlords to handle issues quickly. But there is a good filter that I can recommend. It is pricey, like it might have 2 options between like 400 and 700, but that is cheaper than, obviously, as a starting point, than getting a new house, getting a new room. But send me a DM and I'll send you the link to that filter. I don't remember the name of it, but I have it in my files. Okay, we are complete with the UT capsules. Multitasking. Now we're gonna do the Vitex. So this is the hormonal support. I'm gonna do the Vitex. Get my area situated. You did not. We're about to do it now. I'm gonna make Vitex capsules. Excuse me. Vitex, or also called chase tree berry, tends to be a really good first line herb for which gadget? Oh, the blower? Yeah. Instead of buying canned air, like the aerosol spray canned air, we got 2 of these. So helpful. Plugs in, USB, blow the area, keep it moving. So we're gonna make Vitex capsules. Already powdered. That's helpful. But Vitex, also called chase tree berry, tends to be a good first line support for hormonal conditions that are estrogen dominant, which is the majority. So think heavy periods, even PCOS, even though there's always other hormones, right? PCOS, fibroids, too frequent periods. What it does is help to balance, via the signaling in the brain, the estrogen to progesterone ratio. So let me see if I can say this off the top of my head. So the signaling that happens when it comes to like our menstrual cycle is the hypothalamus, pituitary, ovaries, and the hypothalamus with gonadotropin releasing hormone signals to the pituitary to release FSH, LH, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, those travel down to the ovaries to stimulate estrogen, and then there's conversion in the ovaries that happens between estrogen, like aromatase inhibitors, estrogen, and androgens. we have androgens too, so other hormones that are involved in the process. So Vitex, where some other plants maybe interact more closely with the talk your talk, closely interact with the powders getting in my throat with the ovaries. Hold on. Vitex is signaling starts with the brain, so it helps to regulate that estrogen to progesterone ratio further down the line. So that's one way that we support hormone imbalance when it's estrogen dominance. Another way, and Vitex tends to be a good first line herb to try, and I prefer it in capsule form because it's easier to dose. And some people respond to low doses, like under 40 milligrams. My clients have not been responsive to that lower dose, so we start with a 200 milligram capsule once a day and see how that begins to regulate the cycle. Because it's also signaling from the brain, it's also a helpful herb during perimenopause to help to signal the production. It's not necessarily slowing the production of estrogen, but it's signaling the balance of the estrogen and progesterone production. So it can be helpful during perimenopause as well. I started taking it because my cycle started shortening to, we just lost the step. I'm looking for it, here we go. It started shortening to every 26 days? No, 21 days. I was like, what is going on? That's never happened. And so I was trying to initially lengthen it just with astringent herbs. So like to constrict the tissues with astringent herbs to delay. But ultimately it's a hormonal issue. So that, using astringent herbs, I think what was in my blend was like yarrow and rose and cinnamon and shepherd's purse. That bought me like a day or two. Because it's ultimately a hormonal issue. So then I started taking Vitex daily, and within the first month it was back to 28 days like clockwork. So we start there. It's rare, like it's generally considered like minimal. It's not really side effects. It can help with cramps as well, but some people, it's rare, but some people don't respond well to Vitex, and you'll kind of know around the 4th month if it's your jam or if it's not. But I would recommend starting with that. That's one way we address hormones. The other way we address excess estrogen and hormones is via the gut. Gut health is at the heart of so much, because gut health, when there's gut dysbiosis, which basically means that the microorganisms in your gut microbiome, that there's more microorganisms that are harmful present, or there's a fewer diversity of microorganisms, which then also kind of makes it disrupts the balance. So like a healthy gut microbiome has both high levels of diversity of microorganisms and in the right quantities. So when we have gut dysbiosis, if we don't have good gut health balance, which contributes to lots of inflammation and lots of immune system concerns, but also estrogen gets recirculated. The gut doesn't clear estrogen and break it down in the way that it can. So that's the other strategy to correct hormone imbalances. And then the third way is to support your liver. because your liver has to do the biggest job of breaking down steroid hormones, and that's what our reproductive hormones are. And so when the liver is overloaded from a bad diet, from stress, like the liver does the heaviest lifting of detoxification for the body. And so, and of everything, heavy metals, like, pharmaceuticals, like the liver has to bear that weight and that burden and that job. And so when it's just overloaded, then it will not efficiently break down hormones. And so that continues to keep that estrogen level high, and cortisol, but keep those levels high. And then the fourth way that we address hormone imbalances is reducing our exposure to endocrine disruptors. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the level of chemicals that we're exposed to, that like even a generation ago, people like our grandparents, our parents were not exposed to, it's wild. So not only does that burden the liver, but some of these chemicals, a lot of them actually mimic estrogen and other hormones. So they like kind of like loosely bind maybe to our estrogen receptors, and disrupting our hormone balance. So cutting out the synthetic fragrances, it's like those commercial cleaning products, the Pine Sol, like you have to really shift to clean and natural cleaning products, body care products, makeup, hair, to just reduce the load of your chemical exposure. Because I think like the body is really smart and intelligent, and obviously we have these organs that do a good job, at clearing of toxins and getting rid of waste and do all that stuff. But our modern lifestyle adds a lot of obstacles to what the body is meant to do, and like to doing it efficiently. So it's not just, and in food, that was the other thing. So it's not just like, you're exposed to a chemical here and there, but you really have to think about like the compound effect of all of these factors, right? So a diet that is highly processed, which disrupts gut microbiome, creates inflammation, disrupts hormone balance. Adding that to chemical exposure that we already are going to have from air and water, but what we can control is not bringing in toxic body care products, cleaning care products, the fragrances. Like it's just adding to that load, and then for stress adds to the load already. So it's really just like thinking about the compound effect of what we're asking our bodies to do given our lifestyles. So I say pull the levers that you can pull, and diet's a big part of that. The products that you bring into your home are a big part of that. Managing your stress is a big part of that. So that's the strategy. Those are the strategies that we pull together, and you customize it based on like what a particular person needs. Like for liver support, let's say someone has been having heavy bleeding, which is hormonal. We know that we want to include liver support in it. A liver supportive herb. And then they're anemic as a result of the heavy bleeding. A liver supportive herb that also supports anemia would be yellow dock, right? Because it helps with iron absorption. So this is how you start to think about, because there's a lot of overlapping. There's a lot of herbs in which their actions overlap, but they're not the same. But some of them can be used interchangeably, but you just get more specific, and it will be tailored to what a person's full experience is. Sometimes people have hormonal acne with their hormone imbalance. Me. So one liver supportive herb that you could add to the formula, then that would be burdock, because burdock supports the liver, but it also has a huge affinity for the skin. So this is where it gets specific to each person, but I always like to zoom out and think about what are you experiencing, who are you, what's your constitution, to think about like the strategy to help develop a protocol for you. But fasting, the better I eat, the better my cycle is. Exactly. And then fasting is interesting. I just like to encourage people to not, go in with the mindset that, I forgot to move myself again, that, a 7-day fast or however long the fast is going to be is going to like completely reset. Like, it's not a shortcut, it's not a shortcut, and it's not a replacement for adopting a healthier lifestyle. I see a lot of people fast and they feel better, and then they go back to doing the same things, and then they feel worse again, and then they fast again. You're like, that doesn't have to be the cycle. When I'm a big fan of just like slow or sustained changes, like making changes that you can sustain, even if that means that you're moving a little bit slower. And some people aren't in physical like health condition to actually fast. So yeah. All right, these are our vitags. What type? I don't recommend fasting. I do include a fast and cleanse process inside of Herbal Medicine for the Soul for people who want to fast. Fasting is more spiritual than physical to me, although it can be beneficial. It's really the mindset. It's like, why are we going into it like this? Can you be prepared enough for a fast? Like, fasting can be expensive. It requires a lot of preparation. And so I was thinking, like, what is actually more manageable? Is it more manageable to improve one meal a day until that's a new habit? For example, making breakfast a healthier meal, and doing that until that's a habit, and then improving the next meal. So that's how I think about it. And it's such a broad term. Like, I never know what people mean when they're fasting. Like, I know people, are you doing like a 40-day water fast? Like this craziness with the watermelon fast. Like, is it 3 days? Like, it's so much that I tend to not recommend that, because most people don't sustain it. And like, don't sustain the practices when they're done. So it's just like, think about what you can sustain and be consistent with that. And sometimes fasting is a hidden form, not so hidden, but again, depends on the mindset and people's histories with food. Sometimes it's a hidden form of dysregulated eating. So disordered eating, I mean. So it's like fasting can be expensive. You could just, if you usually have like, I don't know, grab something to go for breakfast. I find breakfast to be an easy meal to transition to and to make me healthier. Instead of eating on the go, like start at the top of the week making overnight oats. We do a lot of batch cooking. So if I'm gonna make oatmeal, I'm gonna make enough for the week in crock pot. And so much so that we've even gone to the point of leaving the crock pot on the warm setting. And so then like not putting it in containers and putting it in the refrigerator and having to reheat it. Just like keep it on the warm setting, add water in the morning, grab your hot bowl and keep it moving. Like, and we add raisins and hemp hearts, and Tammy has walnuts. Maybe have like 2 or 3 organic chicken sausage from Costco with it. Like that would be a really, I would think that could be a change that someone could sustain more easily than I'm gonna fast for 7 days, and then that doesn't change habits. So yeah. And then when we do have a blueprint to guide people who really strongly feel that they should do it inside of Herbal Medicine for the Soul, and it always includes infusions and drops and like ways to retain your nutrients depending on what type of fast you're doing, and doing the emotional and spiritual work alongside it too. Yeah, I think everything works. It's just like what works for you. Everything can work. What works for you? What else do I have to make? I have to make cramp bark. Oh wait, but I need to make my blend. So this is my blend. I'm gonna make Vitex, bilberries, and bee pollen. What were my portions? All right. No, I want to be done with this. I'll make mine later. All right. What else? What else? All right. How y'all feeling? Where are we at? We're at 72 minutes. Cramp bark. I'm actually making these for my niece, who is, where is she? How old is our niece, Tammy?
Which one?
Our youngest.
Are you youngest niece?
12? Is she 12?
11?
She's 11. She's 11. And has cramps. And responds well to cramp bark already. So I'm going to make her some cramp bark capsules that she can take when she's on her period. And I thought about doing like adding a little bit of, I don't like to do hormonal support even with Vitex this young, because there's so much development still happening in the brain, that I don't want to interfere, because things can regulate on their own. But cramp bark is a really great antispasmodic for smooth muscle tissue, and that is the type of tissue that the uterus is made up of. Smooth muscle tissue, the intestines are smooth muscle tissue. And she can take capsules. Some people aren't comfortable taking capsules. We're still working on our son, getting him used to taking capsules. So he's not there yet, but she is, and she'll probably just need one. And so she'll have 100 and have plenty to take when she needs it. But cramp bark is exactly as it sounds. Helpful for smooth muscle spasms. Sometimes people put it in, your blood vessels are also smooth muscle tissue. Sometimes people include it in hypertension formulas. All right. There we go. Any other questions, thoughts? Did folks say where they were on their herbal journeys? I missed it in the chat. Alright, this last ones I'm gonna make today. At the top. So we've talked about UTIs, hormone imbalances, and now completing this with cramp bark capsules. It's getting pretty hot in here. Person said, I'm not new. Hey! I won't recognize the IG handle. You're in Family Pharmacy or Herbal Medicine for the Soul? Oh, it's 2021. Herbal Medicine for the Soul. Family Pharmacy's a little bit newer. Hey, hey! Consistency. Kitchen healing with the hands. Healing with the hands unintentionally. What do you mean? I have a good video on consistency on YouTube. That's where it kind of goes back to the small changes. Small changes make a big impact. They really do. And when we reach that level with one small change, that I don't think it's like, it's not a timeline to it. Like, habits aren't formed in 60 days and 30 days, whatever people say. I really think it's when we stop negotiating with ourselves, and that's that mental conversation. When we stop negotiating our way out of doing the thing that we enjoy doing or know we need to do and feel better when we do it, stop convincing ourselves to not do it or fall into the trap of like, oh, I don't feel like it today. Like when we overcome those kind of thoughts and feelings, that's when the habit is formed. And then you can add another one. So it feels more like an on-ramp than suddenly making a number of drastic changes. But this is why Herbal Medicine for the Soul is lifetime. You can always pop in. Lifetime access. Nothing expires. And it only grows because we do, we do 3 calls a month. And those calls are case studies. So our last case study was for idiopathic intracranial hypertension, say that fast 3 times. We also do live medical astrology, chart analysis. We do business calls, so becoming an herbal entrepreneur. There's a whole mini course within Herbal Medicine for the Soul on just getting your herbal business up and running, like Amy did. And we're looking for the next piece. And then we have quarterly business calls to be able to answer people's questions, like where are you in your marketing, or that's whatever questions are coming up, your pricing, your product suite. We are open books. People can ask us anything. And like I said, we've done a lot, pivoted a lot. So we have a lot of experience in different facets of the herbal industry. And we've been doing this since 2010, so we've been around. What else do we do in herbal medicine? So we do lab work. So that's basically like, what does your blood work look like? What does it say? Herbalists don't diagnose, but I firmly believe, especially with the uncertainty that's happening in healthcare, the more you can rely less on the modern system, because it's completely overloaded and there's so many issues, it's too many to name. But being able to understand your own blood work results is a tremendous skill. We've had people wait 6 months to find out that there was an issue with their heart labs. That person could have had a cardiac event by that time. So we practice understanding labs. We have a medical advisor in our program, so she looks at all of our case studies, makes sure that the medicine is sound, or at least up to date, right? And helps us with the labs analysis. And what else? Special topics. So people wanted to learn more about nutritional labels. So that is what we are. I can't remember what we're doing this Thursday. It's either nutritional labels or the business of herbalism. I can't remember. But we have a calendar, and our call topics typically fill up because it's all student-led in the sense of like what students want to talk about. That's what we'll talk about. Where people need support. That's how we'll support you. So anything you want to talk about is on the table to discuss. So that's also why the program is lifetime access, lifetime mentorship. You get a lot in it. And most people are surprised by how much is in the program when they get in it. In a good way, right? Gotta qualify that. All right, we're on our last batch of capsules. This is our cramp bark for menstrual cramps. And just as it sounds, it helps with it's an antispasmodic. So helping reduce muscle spasms and smooth muscle tissue, just like the uterus, which is why it helps with cramps, the digestive system, even with high blood pressure. It wouldn't be the primary in a high blood pressure formula, but it could be a supportive, like tertiary herb. I appreciate it. I'll be joining the call again. Yeah, it'll be good to see you. All right. And then cramp bark it works as a tincture. I mean, it works in many different forms. It just doesn't taste great. So people either it's like what people can be consistent with. Can you make a tea out of it? Yes. It would be harder for most people to be consistent with a cramp bark infusion. So, and sometimes that's even like really hard with children in dose. So I tend to find like glycerites, capsules if they can swallow capsules, and tinctures and syrups to be convenient with children because it's a more concentrated dose. You don't have to try to get, 3 cups of tea in them. Learn that with our son. It's like I can get him to drink 1 cup, but 3 in a day would be a little challenging. This is not, had a little excess. Alright, any other questions? The last bag. Thanks for tuning in. I wish I could do this for a living. You can. What do you mean? If you want to. The making, being an herbalist, or like the making capsules all day? It's a very fulfilling career path. But definitely entrepreneurial, especially in the United States, because there's just like no standard path to becoming an herbalist. There's like, everyone is making their own ecosystems, kind of from scratch. So if you have the entrepreneurial spirit, go for it. And there's lots of different ways that people can do it. But you absolutely can. And it's super empowering. I mean, I think whether or not people want to do it professionally or not, we all come from a legacy of plants. We all had plant healers in our lineages, and more we need people reclaiming that, the wisdom and the skill and the gift inside of our families, like, because we cannot rely on this healthcare system for much longer. And there's so much that people can do at home when you just like know how to use, it's not even a lot, a few herbs very skillfully. You can do so much for yourself, for your family, for your kids, for your loved ones. And that's tremendous. Like, sometimes the things that I hear people, kind of like going to the doctor for, I'm like, what's the doctor for that? And it's just because it's a lost skill. It's a lost skill. So that's why I created Family Pharmacy, to be able to help people become a skilled home herbalist. Not try to deal with multi-systemic chronic issues that need a higher level of care and just clinical skill. But what are the herbs you need in your own home apothecary that you can use and work with to address just the everyday kind of like common complaints that you, like a family unit, might experience within the course of a year. It's a comprehensive, kind of like really succinct program, and there's an ebook option. Right? There's a course option, and then there's the ebook option, which is only $47, 300 pages, recipes, formulas, herbs, ailments. It's a pretty good deal, if I don't say so myself. So I would check that out too, even if it's just for your own personal care and your own personal path. All right. He said, my family thinks I'm nuts, but I use my essential oils and I haven't made it to herbs yet. Let them think you're crazy. That's okay. What's funny is like people would make fun of us for, what do you say? Eating our roots and berries and twigs. I think that was what it was. Taking our twigs, making fun of us. And maybe 10 years later, those same people making fun of us for our twigs are now eating twigs too. So it's like the power of your influence, and then also like it's an inevitability, especially with some chronic illnesses and autoimmune. It's like an inevitability that people following the modern path are going to hit a roadblock because it's not holistic, and it's not very good at metabolic issues and autoimmune conditions other than handing out immunosuppressants, which put you at risk for a whole bunch of other stuff. Inevitably, they turn to holistic and be like, wait, what was that twig you were talking about? Yeah, they come around. They do. Or they don't, and like that's okay too. I think people get frustrated with family. But everyone has to find their own way. And that's all right. And just like the other person said, like, to each his own. Like, everything works. Or not. I'm still dealing with herbalism. Oh, it's witchcraft. I need to turn to the Lord. They won't stop. Wow. Yeah, we have that. Not necessarily. Well, and she's still calling for help. They will. Which is so interesting. Yeah. I just let people be. And like we want that same consideration too, right? Like I'm not gonna try to shove herbs down your throat. This is my practice. Those tend to be the hardest people to kind of work with. It's like if they don't believe, then just let it be. Or if they think that they have a belief system that is forbids herbalism, then it's like, okay. But I like that same consideration in return, right? That it's just like, I'm not going to impose my beliefs on you. You don't have to impose yours on me. So, yeah, that can be a challenging dynamic in this family. All right, y'all. Staple these together. That's it. Boom. I tell them to go look up the etymology of pharmacy, and they was asking me, that's a good retort. That's a good response. They're not going to do it. Do they do it? That would be funny. They're probably not going to do it. But that is a good response. And people don't even realize that there's still how much pharmaceutical research is done on plants to have ideas for, yeah. Like the pharmaceutical industry literally researches plants to create novel medications from. But and like if plants didn't work, humans wouldn't be here. Like literally, if you like people thought that through, we wouldn't be here. They've been our shelter, our medicine, our clothing, everything for far longer than pharmaceuticals have been and synthetic products have been. So, but those are just folks that aren't ready. It's okay. That's hard. It's hard to have a conversation. Yeah, like that. And like pharmaceuticals are only around 150 years old is a generous number. You could also tell them to look up the Flexner report, and everybody will understand why herbs and diet, nutrition aren't included in modern medical training. One report, 300 pages, one report, 1910. Look it up. Changed the whole game. There were one report and a lot of money from the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. Yeah, I looked that up. I am gonna head off. Wound care. I actually have to reply to an email from someone who needs wound care. It's called the Flexner Report. Flexnor. You can find it online, 300 pages. There's one little, and then anyway, there's a lot in it. It's a fascinating read. But it basically completely structured how medical school training and the pipeline from training to doctor would be. And the schools that didn't comply, lots of schools that trained Black people were shut down for obvious reasons. And the schools that didn't comply were not given money. The eclectic schools, like the herbal botanical schools, those shut down. So money, power, influence is what structured our current medical paradigm. But yeah, the Flexner Report, really interesting read. And then wound care in the hospital, that's not where you can do it. I actually have someone to reply to asked about if they were in an accident, a car accident, broke a rib, on a catheter, and something else. But they're still in the hospital. That's not where we can, sadly. They're under their care. You have to wait until that person is released from the hospital, and then it depends on the wound. Yeah, I hear you, lady mysterious. Yeah, there's a lot of nurses and doctors in our program who want to leave the industry. It's sad because it's like we need it, and it would benefit everyone if herbalism was reintegrated into healthcare. It would benefit patients and like us as a population. It would benefit physicians. It would benefit obviously herbalists. Like it would really benefit everyone. It would benefit public health. And there's other countries that do it, but the United States, not known for doing what's right. So, but yeah, wound care, that really depends on the wounds, how the wounds are healing. I know you want to support their healing, but when someone's in a hospital setting, that's not when we have any ability. Unless you're sneaking it in, and I wouldn't do that. Like they're on medications. I would wait until they're out of the hospital and see how you can support them then. But there are lots of herbs to do it. I'm gonna do a big YouTube video on books, because books always have to be qualified with like what people want to learn in herbalism, and how they want to practice herbalism. We have kitchen herbalists, and so those remedy books are super helpful, like the recipe books. We have clinical herbalists where there's more, it gets more detail into needing to know anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, chemistry. Those are really helpful sciences. So some of the things I'm going to talk about in an upcoming YouTube video. And then there's a whole host of books in between. So I typically tell people I'm going to do a video on books. It's going to be a long one. I'll pull out the ones that I use the most, but I have to qualify that, like to recommend I don't have any of them right there in the house, 300 page, no, like 1,000 page book that is very clinical and dense is going to overwhelm someone who wants to, and it's not just, but like be a family herbalist, know their go-to recipes to be able to support yourself, support your family. So every book kind of should be put in a bucket. So I'll do that. And then there's other resources that I use. But I tell people, go to your local library. I do this occasionally anyway. Go to your local library, and I mean, ours only had about 10, one of them, for me to check out. So go to the local library and check out all the books that you can on herbs, and then bring them home and go through each of them. And I think the exercise that I like is pick an herb that you already kind of know. So pick ginger, see what every author writes about ginger, whichever herb, because that will give you a really good indication of if this is a book you like that you want to add to your own library. And it's like if it's giving you what you want from the book, because everybody's going to write about a plant based on their experience and how they're using it. So the kitchen herbalist, the remedies, they're going to be like, okay, here are the recipes that I include ginger in, and we'll loosely talk about ginger's, like, I don't use superficial, but like ginger's most well-known benefits. But a clinical book will go more into the phytoconstituents and also like how can I use ginger in other formulas as a catalyst or a synergist herb, the contraindications. So, and then another herbal book will talk about the gardening, like the cultivation of ginger. So I have like all three, like there's so many different buckets. So that's why I say go to the library, grab what you can, and really read through what each author. Some other herbal books are going to talk about the ethnobotanical use, like the historical use of the plant, and the like folklore. Some will talk about the spiritual. So you have to see what you want. But I think that's a really fun and kind of free way to discover which kind of books you want to add to your library. This is nothing like buying a book that you don't want. You're like, I thought this was gonna be. It's okay. I'm used to the autocorrect. Like I thought this was gonna, I thought this book was gonna have something else, and it doesn't. And now you've already spent your money on it. So that has become one of my practices, is to do that. What else? Oh, thank you. Another question. How are you? Sending you much love and gratitude. Yay! Oh, thanks. Yes, I'm definitely doing that book. I just wrote a 30-minute script for YouTube that I'm recording tomorrow. And we have a different one going up tomorrow. So we're on a weekly cadence, Tuesdays. But I don't want to put that on the YouTube banner. It's too much commitment. But every week we're putting up a YouTube video. And so not next week, but the week after next, the video is going to be about like what do you need to study as an herbalist? So I spent the last 4 days writing that script, super fun, pouring as much as I could into it. And then the one after that, the plan is to pull out all the books. And maybe that'll be multi-parts because there's quite a bit. To say like who this is for, who this book would be good for, and even some of the information that I felt like I was missing, not from the book, but that I needed another book to fill in the blanks. So definitely doing that video. And thank you for asking how I'm doing. I'm good. Yeah, summer days are nice. We don't have to get up and rush and get him to school. And Mondays, I think I'm always a little ambitious of when I'm going to start the workday. And it really doesn't start till like 11. So that tends to throw me off, but it goes longer. During the school year, I wouldn't be still working at 7. But it goes longer. Everyone is home. We're super chill. Everyone is happy that we closed our public-facing space. Niles is happy. Tammy's happy. I'm happy. We're all happy. I'm getting sleep. I'm writing a lot. And I'm really enjoying this season. We just finished our first retreat. We got back, is that this week already? No. We got back last Monday. We had our first retreat that we hosted in Brewster, New York. on the Ryder Farm with our partners, Ari and Devers. Prosper. He's right there staring at me. Prosper is our dog. Thank you for asking about Prosper. He is always happy if he is with us. So Prosper is super happy. But our retreat was amazing. I need to put more footage up, but it was really dope. Chef prepared meals. So good. Like literally farm to table. Like literally. Like did not get in a car. Like from the farm to the table. It was so good. We made medicine, chatted, did an astrology class. Like lots of rest incorporated within the retreat too, where it was just spacious. And so I think we marketed it well in the sense of like people expected to come and rest and not have every moment of the retreat booked. So I think everyone really appreciated that, and I appreciated that too. Like that was the intent for us to not come back tired. That's the worst. And then it was 120 acres of farmland, foraging, so much medicine, so many plants on the ground. And it's such a helpful like integration in herbalism, especially if you live, we lived in New York, live in Brooklyn, you don't necessarily see everything that you're working with like grow in its natural habitat. So that's always a good part of the integration, to see the herbs and where they grow. Getting hot and getting dewy. What else? But I'm gonna go make dinner. Go make dinner. What did they say? Do a video, go to the library, buying books, and I have to get. Yeah, I hear that. I have a lot of books that I have yet to touch too. And a lot of the herbal books tend to be like reference material. Like I like to read the intro, and then the rest becomes reference for when I need it. But yeah, I probably won't rate them, but I will put them into categories. I think that writing a book is, of which I am. Writing a book is it's such a thing. Like it's ambitious, it's courageous. So I won't rate them in the sense of like putting them on a scale of good to bad. It'll just be like how I use it, and perhaps what other resource I needed to understand some of the information within a book, especially the clinical ones. What else? Yes. I heard 120 and automatically thought degrees. All right. Time to commence. What else? Yay. All right, y'all. Gonna make dinner. Thanks for hanging out. See you later. Good night.